For centuries, the edge of the known world wasn't just some line on a map. It was a real, terrifying place. For European sailors, the Atlantic Ocean was where civilization ended and the nightmares began. The Romans called it the Sea of Darkness, a place they thought was reserved for the gods. And look, this wasn't just some spooky bedtime story. This was a deep-seated, paralyzing fear that literally locked humanity onto its continent for 1,000 years. But every lock has a key, and the story of how this one was picked is an absolute masterclass in innovation. So what was holding back the age of discovery? It wasn't a lack of ships or even a lack of ambition. It was a wall built from superstition, from pure psychological terror, and yeah, some very real, very deadly navigational challenges. And the cornerstone of that wall was a place called Cape Bojador. Now you and I, we look at a map, we just see a spot on the coast of West Africa. But to them, that was the end of the line, the point of no return. For generations, sailors told terrifying stories of a green sea of darkness and killer currents. No European who had ever passed it had ever come back. It was the ultimate barrier. And get this wasn't just a single failed attempt. For 12 long years, Prince Henry of Portugal, the guy we now call the Navigator, threw everything he had at this problem. 15 separate expeditions, 15 crushing defeats. That wall of fear, it was holding strong. Before we see how they finally broke through it, just a quick note. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on the notification bell, share and like my videos. The information in this video has been compiled from open sources. Thank you. So how do you break a wall that exists in the mind as much as it does on the sea? Well, Prince Henry realized you can't just smash it with bravery. You have to dismantle it, piece by piece, with knowledge. And this is where Prince Henry's truly revolutionary idea comes into play. He decided to fight fear with data, to fight superstition with science. He was going to build, essentially, a state-sponsored innovation hub, a 15th century mission control for exploration. You see, Henry had both the motive and the means. Back in 1415, he saw firsthand the incredible wealth flowing through African trade routes. Then, by 1420, he's made the head of the ridiculously wealthy Order of Christ, which gave him the cash flow to fund what was, for its time, a total moonshot project. He set up his base at Sagres, literally at the southwesternmost tip of Europe, staring right out into the unknown. Now, when people hear School of Sagres, it's easy to picture a stuffy university with classrooms and chalkboards. But you gotta scrap that image. The reality was so much more exciting. Think of it less like a school and more like a modern tech incubator or a government research lab. It was a hands-on, collaborative environment, laser-focused on solving a very specific set of problems. And to solve those problems, Henry put together an absolute dream team, a talent stack that completely broke the rules of the 15th century. He brought in Jewish mapmakers who held the world's best cartography secrets. He hired Arab mathematicians, Genoese sea captains, instrument makers, basically anyone who had a piece of the puzzle. It didn't matter what their religion or nationality was. This wasn't a school. It was a deliberate, strategic fusion of knowledge. Okay, so a think tank is great, but you can't just think your way across the Atlantic. You need hardware. And the very first revolutionary product to come out of this new R&D process was a ship specifically engineered to hack the ocean. See, before the Caravel, ships in Europe were kind of clunky. You had these heavy, square-sailed barges, great for hauling cargo if the wind was at your back, but totally useless trying to go against it. The Caravel, it was a different beast altogether. Light, fast, with a shallow hull that was perfect for poking around unknown coastlines. But its real secret was in the sail. This right here is the lateen sail, a triangular design they actually borrowed from Arab sailors. Now, a square sail just gets pushed by the wind from behind, right? Simple. But the lateen sail works like an airplane wing. It creates a pressure difference that generates lift, literally pulling the ship forward, even against the wind. This one piece of tech was a complete game changer. It meant that a return journey wasn't just a hopeful prayer anymore, it was predictable. And here you can see how it all came together. The Caravel wasn't just a boat, it was a platform. You've got that sleek, smooth hull, that's Caravel built, meaning less drag in the water. Then there's the stern post rudder, which gave it way better maneuverability. And check out the masts, a super versatile setup. You could rig it with those nimble lateen sails for exploring, or swap in some square sails on the open ocean to really pick up speed. I mean, it was basically the F-35 of its day, a multi-role vessel built for one thing, discovery. Okay, so you've got the hardware, this amazing new ship. But that's only half the equation, right? You also need the software, the science to actually pilot it across thousands of miles of empty ocean and, find your way back home.
I mean, think about it. What good is a revolutionary ship if you have no idea where you are or where you're going? The old method of just hugging the coastline, that wasn't going to cut it anymore. They needed a whole new way to find their position on a completely blank map. The answer came from the new navigational toolkit being developed back at Sagres. They took the astrolabe, which was this complex tool for astronomers, and created a simplified, rugged version for sailors. This let them measure the height of the pole star or the sun. You combine that with some new astronomical charts, which basically turned complex science into simple lookup tables, and suddenly any sailor with a little training could figure out his latitude, his north-south position, with pretty stunning accuracy. Navigation was finally becoming a science. But the real masterstroke, the secret sauce of Portuguese navigation, was a technique called the Volta do Mar, literally the turn of the sea. And it was brilliant because it was completely counterintuitive. To get home from Africa, you didn't sail northeast toward Portugal. The winds are dead against you. Instead, and this is the crazy part, you sailed northwest, deep into the open ocean, seemingly going in the completely wrong direction. So check this out. You'd sail hundreds of miles out into the Atlantic, away from home, until you caught these super powerful, super reliable westerly winds. And those winds would just slingshot you right back to Portugal. Yeah, it was a longer trip in terms of distance, but it was way faster and a whole lot safer. This one technique required total confidence in your new tools and a deep understanding of the ocean's invisible highways. It was the key that unlocked the entire Atlantic. And so, in the year 1434, a captain named Gil Inez, armed with his agile Caravel and this whole new tech stack of navigational science, finally did what 15 expeditions before him could not. He sailed right past Cape Bojador, and he came back. He told them the water didn't boil, there were no sea monsters, just open sea and new lands. And with that one single voyage, that psychological wall that had imprisoned Europe for 1,000 years just crumbled. So the door to the rest of the world was now wide open. But the Portuguese were absolutely determined to be the only ones holding the key. They understood, maybe better than anyone, that the real advantage wasn't just in ships or sails, it was in information. And this is where they got really clever. Portugal basically became the first modern nation to weaponize data. Every new discovery, every coastline charted, every star map, every logbook from a returning ship was immediately classified as a state secret, a sigillo. All this data was fed back to mission control at Sagres to be analyzed and baked into newer, better maps, which themselves were guarded like the crown jewels. They created an information monopoly, basically declaring the sea was closed and forcing other countries to buy a license just to sail in what they now considered their ocean. So what this incredible story really shows us is that the key to unlocking a new world wasn't just about courage. It was about the systematic application of knowledge and technology. Portugal figured out that the most valuable commodity in the world wasn't gold or spices. It was information, which leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? 500 years later, in our own age that is just drowning in data, what are the unknown oceans we can navigate? What are the modern walls of fear that we can finally break down? I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this explainer insightful, we'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our channel, turn on the notification bell, and share and like our videos. All the information in this piece has been compiled from open sources.